Welcome to the Emajin Golf Podcast Beyond the 19th. I'm your host, Raj Narayan. Tim and Vincent, you guys have been involved in the Emajin community for a very long time. Tim, I think you're member number 8 or 10 or something like that in the very early days. And Vincent, you've been involved as well for quite a while. We've had you as platinum members. We've had Sajen at very many of our events. So I'm very, very thrilled to have you both on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Look, I've obviously known you both really well, but I just thought, look, let's start at the beginning. Tell us a bit more about Sajen, how you got working together, and tell us a bit more about what you do.
Sajen, if we didn't cover it last time, it's been around for about 30 years in various incarnations. I guess in recent times, there's been some changes. Our founder, the erudite Kyle Kimball, decided he'd done enough and finished up last year. And since then, Vincent's come on as the head partner in the litigation insolvency team. It's been off to a great start, but I myself have been there 17 years, and I think Vincent must have joined about 7 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, 7-8 years ago. So I kind of fell into it a little bit. I was overseas, and Sajen had joined forces with some other lawyers, and that's who I'd worked with previously. So I was adopted by the Sajen guys, and it's been great. I've been in partnership now with Tim for a few years. Things are looking good. I'm up on the Sunshine Coast office primarily. Tim's down here in Sydney, but we've now got a Brisbane office as well, which is starting to grow.
Oh, that's really nice. I didn't know about this. Fantastic.
Yeah,
congratulations.
So thank you. Yeah, we've had one of our long-term employees who used to be up on the Sunshine Coast. He's now down in Brisbane. Mac, his name, is running it. So we've now got a full-time office there with a few lawyers and looking to grow this year.
Oh, fantastic. Where are the offices in Brisbane?
It's on 95 North Quay, which is 50 metres from the court. So, yeah.
Nice. That's convenient, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought it might be in the city or something. Is the court in the city? No.
It's in the CBD.
Kind of. Yeah.
It's not the good side of the city with all the restaurants, but it's next to the court.
It's next to the court, exactly.
That's good. So Mac doesn't go on too many long lunches. So, yeah, it's good.
You need to be a banker to go to the other side.
Yeah, that's right.
To actually go to the nice lunches and everything. That's what we're on the other side.
Yeah.
I don't know where we are, but we're in the city too, so we'll have to check it out when I'm there in Brisbane next. Look, you guys are presenting very soon at our Brookwater event coming up very shortly, and I've had the pleasure of being, at both of your keynotes at different events, and I just thought, look, it's an interesting perspective because you talk about law and you really talk about law and how it could protect your business, but also how it can enhance the value of your business. And I thought that is such an interesting take on both protecting and enhancing. And I thought, why don't you give us a bit of a flavor? Tell us a bit more about what our members can look forward to at the presentation. Maybe we kick off with you, Vincent, and tell us, let's protect and then we'll enhance the value.
Yeah, sure. That? So our main reason for existing is to help our clients protect their business and their money. So that's what we're all about. So I work in the litigation team. We also do asset protection and structuring. So litigation, commercial litigation is basically a broad range of disputes. So anything to do with business, property, assets, companies, shares, anything like that. Tim handles the business and corporate side of things, which is more the front end, getting deals done type side of it. So we really cover quite a broad range of commercial transactions and disputes. So really our passion is helping our clients understand the steps that they can take to protect their business and to grow it. And there really is a handful of, maybe 5-6 things that I could talk to basically any business and say, look, focus on these things and you reduce your risk for like 80-90% or something like that. So yeah, it's been great speaking at Emajin events again. I feel like they went well, so very much looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, fantastic. Tim, you wanted to add anything to that? And what are you going to talk about the enhancing value piece?
Yeah,
I love that part of it. Yeah, tell me.
I think Vinny summarised it well. He's the fighter and I'm the lover. There's 2 ways to protect and enhance your business. One is making sure it can deal with the problems that it faces or proactively mitigate against and avoid those type of problems. And then also equally, how do you add value to your business when the time comes, whether you're looking for outside investment or looking to sell. There's a lot of things that happen at the due diligence stage at that point, I guess. A lot of people think, oh, my financials are looking good. My business is worth this much, and it is until someone conducts a due diligence and might find there's a bunch of things that haven't been squared away. And yeah, between both of us, that's what we're looking at trying to address on the Brookwater and Bonnie Doon presentations. But for the exact tips, you'll have to join us.
I think we're going to have to talk a little bit about that, Tim. Give them a bit of teaser. But Vincent, tell me, you talked about protecting your business. Give us one, obviously, I think the last time you talked about contracts and understanding what's in there.
Yeah.
And obviously, being on the litigation side, you probably see a lot of what's gone wrong.
Yeah, and
it's a different
I always
perspective,
say
isn't
if
it?
we've done our job properly, hopefully you don't have to come and see me. Tim sets you up.
There's all the other people who've given the bad contracts. Now they've got to come and have a
That's
litigator.
right. I always say it's always good to have a big stick, even if you never have to swing it. So, as I said, there's a handful of kind of steps or strategies that you can put in place to make sure that you never end up in a room having a meeting with me, because that's really the goal, to avoid that. So, as you said, last time we spoke a lot about contract terms. So, that's probably one of the more common areas that's just overlooked. So, worst case, you get people downloading their terms and conditions off some website that they found.
It's so common, isn't it? People
now
download
ChatGPT
it.
is the other
I've
one.
done that
Yeah.
myself in the early days. Close your ears, Tim. It's like, what? But I think when I first started on my website, I just downloaded something from somewhere and just stuck it up there, because you go, oh,
Yeah, it's
whatever,
great for us
and-
litigators when you do that, because
but it's since all been fixed.
Yeah, of
I
course. I'm sure
I can guarantee
Tim's
you.
looked after you there.
Tim's looked after us. Like, all the clauses are in there.
Bulletproof now.
Bulletproof now, exactly. In fact, we received that a lot. We had a supplier contract and we get it, and there's definition things defined, but they're never in the actual contract. Sometimes we find that we go, what's going on here? And that could happen as well when you just download someone else's contract, which has nothing to do with
download
you
them online,
or your business.
or just keep the same terms and conditions that you had a lawyer knock up 10 years ago. And as you say, they'll refer to pieces of legislation that no longer exist, or all sorts of things. So that's a very common one. The other one is not actually administering your contract. So it's got great terms, but sometimes they're only as useful as you actually taking steps to protect yourself. So, for example, if you've got certain rights over assets relating to your business, you might have to take steps to register those assets. And if you don't, you may as well not have had it in the first place. So, So it's not only having the contract, but actually understanding it and following through on it to make sure that you're properly protected.
Make sure that all those things that are in there you met.
Yeah.
Sometimes I worry about that. I think, having too stringent a contract, you got to do all the stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And look, you can go too far. A contract's only as good as your ability to get someone to sign it.
Yeah.
So again, that's the difficulty. You could ask ChatGPT to draft the best contract that anyone's ever written, but anyone with half a brain won't sign it. So that's part of the benefit with meeting with Tim. He'll give you the kind of the commercial aspects. This is, you're asking too much now, or this is what you should be pushing for.
Yeah, pushing for and so forth. Oh, that's very interesting.
And that depends on what's important to you too. That balance is, these things are extremely important. These things I can give up. Understanding that, a lot of the time people jump into agreements and say, I need this, my lawyer said I need this, but they've never explained, why do you care about that? Or does that actually matter to what you're trying to achieve with the contract? So,
And I remember back in the banking days, that's what we always looked at, because you can have so many things, and especially with covenants and things like that. But it's really important was what will close. Like, where can you get the meeting point to actually get the deal done? And that's the thing that we need to negotiate. We always have to negotiate with pricing, with the covenants, etc., to actually get the deal done. And that's probably what it is. You could have 2,000 clauses in there, but it's knowing which four are really, really important to have that. What about you, Tim? You talk a lot about the on the value side. An IP is one of your favorite ones. So tell us a bit more about that and what you look for, and when you get to that.
I think I've told you the story before. One of the times we had a client, they were going to sell their business for plenty, I think maybe 20, 25 million. And it wasn't until they went to sell and the other party was the one that discovered they didn't own their trademark. Now that seems like a simple thing. They thought they owned it all these years. They didn't own it. Then they came to me going, we've got this deal. It's almost negotiated. It's time to draft it up. But they said, we don't have the trademark. Can you get it? No, I can't actually, because someone else owns the exact same trademark in similar services. And so this whole deal, they had to sell their business. It didn't get scuppered in the end, but the amount that they got for it was a lot less because they didn't have that exclusive right to use the name. So something like that, again, you want to be sure of that in the early days before it's going to cost you millions of dollars as someone finds out later on. So those proactive things are the things that I look for when I talk about adding value to the business. Another example, which is similar, And it's sad how often these things only get found out when someone else is doing due diligence on your business. And that's why Sajen, we have what's called a business health check, which we often proactively do to any of our clients, but particularly the ones who are thinking, I'm going to sell in 3 to 5 years' time. Then we'll conduct this health check, which identifies those sort of things now so they can be mitigated against, squared away. And when the time comes, it's not something the other side's finding out and using as a tool to leverage you down on price. So,
and it's really interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of the times you're trading, you have the name, and sometimes what's preventing your competitor from going and registering it if you haven't got it? Like in this case, it happened naturally, and somebody had registered it, and you didn't realize it. And I always think, even the domain names, I've got like a whole series of different versions of Emajin and eGolf and everything registered. But someone could even get a domain name that looks and sounds like yours, but redirects to somewhere else.
Yeah, cool.
And the same with their trademark or IP level, much higher in terms of impact. But it's the same thing, it's so interesting. But you'll be surprised, so many people don't even see this. Do you find that?
No, you would be surprised. And especially, again, extremely good businesses. It's not like they're just mum and dad shops that have only just started or something like that. There's businesses operating a long time. And sometimes you can overcome that and get it done at a later stage, but it's much more expensive, much more difficult. And again, you don't want to be building
But
up
also,
value.
if somebody's built it, I remember we always talk about this Burger King and Hungry Jack thing. And it's so massive, isn't it? Like you think that, I suppose you don't think to register it globally. That's probably what happened there, isn't it?
Well, most people, they don't start a business thinking they're going to take over the world. And then once it does happen, it could be too late in that regard. The Burger King example, as we knew, they were such a big business that they overcame it.
Tell us a bit more about that. I think that's a good story that people can, if they don't know it already.
Yeah, if you don't know. So the importance of registering a trademark, because it's a first come, first served situation. It's not about who's the biggest or who deserves to have it or anything like that. And there was a little burger shop down in South Australia, from memory, that's registered Burger King, just a corner store making hamburgers with beetroot and pineapple on it, and were smart enough to register their trademark. And so when the time came, the Burger King took off in the US and decided it's time to come to Australia. They found out that if they started operating here, they'd be breaching this trademark. And so they did make a number of offers to buy it, and this person probably got a bit too greedy in the end, and they decided, actually, we'll call ourselves Hungry Jacks because our products are so ubiquitous that everyone will know the Whopper and everything like that. It doesn't matter to actually call ourselves Burger King. So he missed out on a big payday, but to an academic point, it proved that a registered trademark is enough to beat out a multi-billion-dollar corporation.
Yeah, but also it's not that. I mean, think about Burger King. That I had to get all of the collateral, everything changed. So it's probably quite a big number for them.
Well, that's right.
Even though they decided not to pay this guy, it's a big expense because everything looks different.
That's what they figured out in the end. No, that expense was less than what this guy was demanding. So that was always going to be the tipping point.
It's always more expensive to clean up the mess once you uncover it rather than just preventing it.
Yeah, but how many people do this health check? Very rarely, isn't it? I don't know. People may be doing it a lot, but it's something that they should do.
Yeah, our Accord clients, we definitely do that straight for them as soon as they sign up on that annual retainer as a way to identify what we need to get through in the year and see what we can do to address that. But yeah, you'd be surprised. There was a period we were offering it for free and no one took it up because no one wants to know what's wrong with their business, to be honest. It's that, if we let Tim go in there even for free and he tells us there's all these problems, now we have to address them. So
address the problems.
Sometimes the ostrich with the head in the sand can be a powerful tool.
But look, it's so interesting because most people, when they set up their business, obviously there's an exit at some point. Yes, you want to be working in it for a long time sometimes, but a lot of the times people are always thinking that you want to protect your business or grow, and always there's an exit. I always think the day you start, I think there's an exit. I've been reading this book, Built to Sell, and that's an amazing book because it talks about how you build your business so that it can be sold. You may choose never to sell it, but you can. And that's the way, because basically the business runs without needing the owner or without needing any individual, and it kind of future-proofs it. So even if one person's not there, somebody else could come and run it. And it talks about creating all these playbooks so everything is systematized and runs automatically and autopilot. And you think about that and you think, it's so interesting that you wouldn't have every contract, all of these checked and protected because
you should always start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
The trademark one, obviously, I've said that a lot. Another good example. was a supply agreement. Again, they had the business ready to sell. It had been going great, but it was so critical that one international supplier was supplying to them on these prices, and that made the whole business work. And the time came again to sell. Due diligence said this agreement runs out in 3 months and there's no guarantee they renew it or that they keep making the products for the same price. And that again started a big argument about whether the business is worth anything.
Yeah.
Because if this supplier doesn't renew, you're done. So having those agreements up to
And
date and with terms that are locked in for a certain period, and this is becoming more and more important these days, given the importance of copyright, AI, and how much that stuff underpins a lot of businesses. If you don't have those agreements in place and can be certain about how that carries on with the next owner of the business, then it can diminish your value a lot.
Oh wow, that's pretty stressful, isn't it? Especially talking about AI. What do you think? How does that impacted the legal industry? Because there's got to be well, the impact will be big on any industry, but I think with law,
it's probably like most things in law, it's taking off probably more slowly than it could. The adoption or the take up's probably a little bit slower than you'd expect.
That's because everybody knows that it quotes non-existent laws.
Yeah, that's right. That probably
and non-existent case laws.
I've had a few self-represented parties on the other side coming back with me with chapter, and it's an absolute mess. That it doesn't help them. It causes more problems. But you'll see more and more of it. I mean, it's obviously got uses, and any lawyer who's not investigating it is, their days are probably numbered. But as things stand right now, for sure it's coming in, it's making massive leaps forward, but it's probably not shaking up the industry to the extent that everyone's expecting it will at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how the next few years plays out. Yeah,
it will be interesting because I remember back in the day, there was all this talk about how paper will be non-existent. Remember the .com startup? Or everything will be e-commerce, and nobody will be printing a piece of paper. And the printers will go out of business, and to some extent it's probably reduced, and people can't read things in their handheld devices and things like that. But still, I still have a giant printer in my office that's printing out name badges as we speak
there's
for an event tomorrow.
Like highlighting and circling and crossing out.
Exactly, because the human tendency doesn't go away. And the same with AI. Absolutely, it's going to do a lot and make changes, but I don't think it's going to fully automate everything.
No,
people are not going to just go to AI and get all the information there.
Well, the most important part of what we do is actually dealing with the people. So it's, they might be in a difficult position and they come in and they're not sure what to do, and they want to see a human face to face and that they can trust. And I think AI is a long way away from doing that. And it might be from Tim's side of thing, they really want to know what should they do to maintain or to build the value of their business. Sure, use the AI, it's great for giving you ideas, but at this point at least, you can't really trust that that's looking out for your interests. So I think that's a good thing. The way I look at it going forward is as it increases its capability, we'll spend less time on the grunt, the boring stuff, and it's more just the meeting with clients and doing the stuff that we really care about.
Yeah, that's a great point, because it probably elevates the work you do. So the humans go to doing the more value-added work.
Relationship building is always going to be the most important part of business. AI can, as you say, can replace menial tasks and make you more efficient and allow you more time to build relationships. But especially in professional services industry, it's people trusting other people. And now that might change generationally. The younger generation are far more comfortable never meeting with people or talking with people in person. So maybe there will be a generational shift, but certainly most business owners that I know from the sort of 30 to 70-year-old now, the reason why they don't try and use AI and take care of their own problems is because they want someone that they trust to do it. They don't. It's not that they're incapable of going on and trying to do it, but that's not how they resolve a problem or how they get comfort and peace.
Yeah, it totally makes sense, because I always think if you're looking to protect something, or even if you're just looking to get work done, it's always getting the expert makes a lot more sense. Whether it be law, whether it be marketing, whether it be anything. I'm a big believer that you get the best people to kind of do the work for you. Do that work in that area.
And there's always a pushback as well. People crave the human relationships when they have them less. I remember a story. I booked hotels online for the first 10 years after you could, right? That was so much easier than calling up the hotel and chatting through. It was just so convenient. And then one time there was a hotel that didn't have it and I had to call them up. And it was the best experience you've ever had in your life. I can't believe that I'd ignored that for the last 10 years. They were giving me upgrades, telling me all this other stuff that I could do while I was there. And you got a level of service that you don't get from booking on your own. And that's when I realized that convenience, you think it's the best thing in the world, but the second you start having those human engagements again, you realize that it's not always all it's cracked up to be. There's opportunity in human engagements and interactions that you don't get from AI or online.
And I'm one of those people who always calls and books things. And not only is it to get the human interaction, because I love chatting to people, but the main thing is when you call and you book, there's a 48-hour cancellation. So I can cancel 48 hours prior. And when I book online, yes, it's very secure, but it's all paid up front. And I go, that trip is coming 3 months later. I'm not paying for that now.
She does check the terms and conditions after all.
I do check terms. I say, no, that's a 48-hour cancellation policy. And I'll give you a great example of this. So we ran a tour to the LIV. So we went to, LIV, I went to South Australia and, went to Adelaide and played all of the golf courses. And it was the first time Liv was coming to Australia. And I was in the office and Jamie was like, oh, I'm getting these bookings, and started making bookings. And he booked 2 or 3 online, and then you're booking 16 to 20 spots. And he said, oh, Raj, I need to get your authority because once the same transaction goes twice, it blocks the card, because obviously for security purposes. And he was booking the same room like multiple times, 3 times or whatever. And I said, stop. And I said, cancel them all, because we had a 30-day cancel. Cancel them all. And I just called. I booked all these 20 rooms with a 48-hour cancellation. For the Live, it was like 100,000 people there, all booked. Until 2 days prior, I could change it. I could upgrade people. I could downgrade people. I could cancel the spots. And it was the best thing because it gave me such flexibility. And in the end, we changed at least 6 of the rooms to something else. Because you book something and then someone says, oh, I want to upgrade, or I want to do this, I want to go to the suite or whatever. So I just think,
Robots aren't taking over just
yeah,
yet.
Exactly. Robots are not taking
We've
over
still got a
yet.
future.
Where's the hustle with the robots? There's no hustle.
Exactly.
I always think the most important thing in business is having a bit of hustle to get that thing done. So going back to the topics, Vincent, tell us a bit more. I mean, obviously you're a litigator and you see all these cases. What do you find are the most common? What are the problems people are having in terms of law?
Yeah, look, it changes over time. I'm not always sure what governs that. Over the last few years, there's been a lot of shareholder disputes. I can't put my finger on what the reason for that is. So people go into business together, everyone's excited. Everyone, doesn't want to get bogged down in the boring, nutting out the details.
No prenups.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A few years goes by, something changes. People change over time, whether it's, someone has a family, they're not putting as much time into the business maybe, or whatever it might be. Or, the big test is always if there's a bit of financial pressure. They haven't talked about all the contingencies and what will happen if, X, Y, Z occurs. And that's where the disputes happen. So on that point particularly, one of the most valuable documents any business can have if there's more than one stakeholder is a shareholders agreement. Because if that happens, you go to the top drawer, you pull it out and says, oh, actually, we agreed to how this would work if, X happens and you resolve the dispute. You don't even have to call the lawyers a lot of the time and it's done. But we've seen a lot of that over the last few years, shareholder disputes. But one of the more common ones is just where the terms of trade haven't been updated properly, or someone's owed money by one of their customers and they haven't got a personal guarantee, or they've signed up the wrong party because they thought they knew who the other business entity was and they've got it wrong or something like that. So yeah, a lot of that. There's a bit of pressure coming from the ATO with respect to a lot of outstanding tax debt. So as the next few years goes, if you look at some of the statistics that are available, the rate of insolvencies is going to go up a lot.
It's going to go up?
Yeah, it's going up massively.
Oh, wow.
Basically the reason for that is over COVID, basically all the government policies basically froze insolvencies. So it's just the natural, course of things that's building up again. So, and that affects a lot of people, not just the business that might be struggling, but all the other successful businesses that, they might be their customers, their suppliers, things like that. So, for the past however many years, they might have always had a good handshake agreement. They really trust the other person. But as the insolvency pressure rises, that's starting to become more of an issue. So you might have a key customer or a key supplier goes under and that party doesn't have the documents in place or the commercial arrangements in place to really protect them.
And what happens then? So you're dealing with some people and you got all these invoices that I got to be paid and they go unta.
Yeah, so
It's interesting, isn't it?
yeah. The short answer is if you haven't properly documented, properly secured your right to payment, you're just at the end of a long line of other creditors that want to get paid, and many of them might be in priority to you. So look, a lot of the time, I'd probably say most, if a customer or another party owes you a lot of money and they go into liquidation or bankruptcy, your chances of actually getting paid if you haven't taken the proper steps are slim. At best. So it means a lot of money gets written off, unfortunately.
Wow. Yeah. And sometimes it could lead to second insolvency.
All the
or whatever
time,
you call it,
yeah.
right? It leads to like a domino effect and it keeps going one after
Yeah,
the other.
particularly certain industries. The building industry is notorious for that
Yeah.
because it's such high, capital required, and someone else one down the chain goes under. Suddenly, you've done nothing wrong. You go under, and then they go upstairs. So yeah, certainly can have the flow-on effect. The other common issue that arises is what's called unfair preference payments. What that means is if you get a payment from a customer, but they're insolvent at the time you got paid, a liquidator or a bankruptcy trustee can actually come in and claw that payment back off you. So even though I was entitled to be paid and I got my money, sometimes I get clawed back and have to pay it back to a liquidator. So just because you got the money doesn't necessarily mean you're safe. So as I said, that's
crazy. So what if somebody's in, like, how are you going to go and keep finding out who's insolvent?
Well, the short answer is do your documents properly. If you went and saw Tim and you got a proper supply agreement or whatever it is and you secure your interest, that what I just referenced there, the unfair preference, just doesn't apply, full stop.
Yeah,
So
okay.
yeah, it's one of those very simple steps. A, being aware of the issue, and two, taking the appropriate steps to mitigate your risk, and it's just a non-issue. I've literally seen, I couldn't count how many times I've seen people lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes more, as a result of not having done something that would have cost a couple of $1,000s at the start.
Wow.
So yeah, there's to answer your question, that's I think that's probably what we're going to see in the next few years, becoming more and more common, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's really serious. But I suppose that's what happens in the economy. It goes up and down in cycles. And where we are now with all the interest rate hikes, and I think it's been a series of a period with a series of pressures. So there was COVID, there was something else like this, one or the other. It's like a domino things that are impacting businesses, and it keeps on continuing. Something else keeps coming up. So it'll be interesting to see where everything lands, isn't it? What about you, Tim? What do you work on the most at Sajen?
These days, I guess it's interesting that it sort of coincides with what's been happening with Vincent, but a lot of deals, people amalgamating businesses, buying businesses or wanting to invest. Maybe that's on the back of shareholder disputes a lot of the time. People are looking for new opportunities.
Yeah.
What do I do next now that I'm out of that? Or what enterprise do I start making money again now that I've come out of the back of that? I think there was a little period there with interest rates really going up when money was expensive, that there was a bit of a stall on that while people wait and saw.
Yeah.
But that's sort of passed now. It's settled down a bit and going back in the right direction. So people are looking to jump in before everyone's looking to jump in. So there have been quite a lot of deals lately. IT, AI, copyright ownership type stuff is coming up a lot as well. Obviously, as I say, a lot of businesses now, the new businesses that are being built, existing ones are trying to adopt AI, and they should, but the new ones that are being built are really using that as the underscore to their whole sort of business model. And once you start doing that, again, as most people would know, AI isn't necessarily something you're owning. When you're using these third-party platforms at the bottom of it, then that's something that, again, you're licensing only. And if you base your whole business on a license, then you'll want to make sure that license is rock solid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can pull the floor out from underneath your business or what value you thought you were increasing. And probably employment. Again, for whatever reason, that's really cranked up probably in the last 4 or 5 years.
What, employment law, like contracts and things?
Yeah, just a lot of changes, I guess. And this happens, again, we've got an election coming up soon.
Yeah.
Employment law is one of the things that really does just flick a switch with politicians, as in they come in, Labor's heavy employee focused, and they'll change a bunch of laws that favour the employees. Liberal get in and then do the opposite back to small business. So it is a dynamic area of law.
We're going to have more favouring the employees, I have to say. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say this openly, but I'm like,
as a business owner, you can say what you want.
Absolutely,
Raj.
I can say anything I want. It's our podcast, we can do whatever.
Well, no more restraints of trade they're talking about. So Tim, that's probably even more important to document the agreements with respect to intellectual property and those types of things.
Or the
right?
restraint of trade.
Did you-
I always think it's so hard to enforce.
Well, yeah, they want to put a prohibition on it. That's what's coming. That's what Labor have promised as part of getting in the
What's
next
that?
election.
There's no more restraint of
a
trade.
full prohibition on it.
Yeah.
As opposed to just enforceability. They're already deemed unenforceable unless reasonable, but
Yeah,
now
you
they just
can't
want to
really
go on.
enforce them. And what are you going to do? Like spend another thousands and thousands taking people to court?
Do your employees
Just
listen to
move
this
on.
podcast?
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
very
They're
enforceable.
they're taking notes as we
Very
speak.
enforceable.
It does depend. At present, it depends on the employee. So, high paid employee, client facing, you're paying them specifically for the purpose of developing a client base. Those certainly can be enforceable. And the proposed prohibition, it doesn't apply if you're getting paid over $175,000 anyway. So, how much does it actually change? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But if
So
you're,
what is that? If you're getting paid more
if
than
you-
175?
yeah, that's the proposal. If you're on a high income earner, so you're getting paid more than
Then you can
100,
have a restraint of
you
trade.
can still restrain those types
Yeah.
of employees. Yeah.
Which
Fair
makes
enough.
sense.
Which makes sense. But also, I think the restraint of trade is a bit extreme, I feel. They should be able to, what are they going to do? Change their career? Like if you're a lawyer, what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, that's the
now
whole-
learn another skill. Like can't practice law for 6 months. You can't really do that.
That type of
But I
restraint's
think
never
that
gonna be enforceable,
poaching
yeah.
clients is something that you can restrict. Just say for 6 months you can't poach our clients or poach your book and take it with you. That's what used to happen a lot in banking. When you move over, most of the time you move to the competitor, and then what happens is suddenly all of your top clients are now doing business with a competitor, and that could be seen as
Look, there's lots of room for argument. So yeah, you've got to get it right. And those, so that's a non-solicitation
Yeah,
clause
non-solicitation,
that
there
you've
you go,
referred to. They are much more easy to enforce, but not always. So yeah, the devil really is in the detail with those things. You've got to get them exactly right if you want to try and rely on it.
But what could you do if like your client decides to go? What are you going to do? Force them to come back? Like there's nothing you
Yeah,
can do.
that's right.
It's not
Well-
like you can take them to court. What would be the purpose? You're just spending a lot of money to piss your client and the employee off. So they're more like punitive and kind of a vindictive thing to do, not a commercially smart thing to do.
Yeah, your remedy isn't forcing the client to
Yeah.
come back and work with you.
Exactly.
Sort of thing.
There's
Your
no
your
remedy.
remedy is what does that cost you, I guess. And again, at a certain level and depending on what people have paid, again, if there's a payout when someone leaves, like a severance package or anything like that, then again, far more enforceable. As you know from your banking years,
Yeah.
people get put on gardening leave often, even before the non-solicitation, to hold people out. And in those circumstances, yeah, again,
And that's
it's
what they
far more
do because
enforceable
you
when
have
there's
3
value for
months
it.
in termination term, and then you put them on gardening leave for that period, which means that yes, you pay out the 3 months, but you protect them from taking your clients. But really, all they're doing is having coffee catch-ups with your clients during the 3 months. You're better off just letting them go.
We have ways to make them enforceable, Raj. You come see us, don't worry.
No, not at all. I'm a big believer in just like, leaving people be free. It's like, for example, if someone from my team decided to go set up another business like this and all my members left, really, they deserve a pat on their back, not...
You've got a great
not-
team, but
not-
I don't think
like,
you're too worried.
they
are you,
deserve,
Raj?
exactly. They do that, good on them. Like, hey, more power to you. Because it's not that easy. Like, as a business owner, you should have built enough, like a moat around, like your little castle, all these bridges, so you protected your business from...
Still good to not think that you're getting chiseled from the inside by the people in your castle.
Yeah,
From a
makes
litigation point of view, we often do have a business owner who, a key employee leaves and they come and see us and talk about legal proceedings, and they, if they're talking about 20, 30, 50 grand, I say, just go spend that on your clients, look after your clients, take them out. It's money much, much more well spent.
Yeah, exactly. And also, by the time you spend all this money, I mean, as you know, the courts, it's not fast. So the clients, it's 3 months already has finished, and that is too late. It's not really enforceable. So say, for example, there's a 6-month non-solicitation clause. Your 6 months will be finished before you get a ruling, I think, or at least 3-4 months. So it's interesting. But it's so important to protect everything and create those, at least know what you're doing. I love that concept of the health check. Yeah, so that's pretty cool, because then at least you know where your blind spots are. And even if you don't fix it all straight away, you can kind of come back and fix them over time.
That's it. It's this we do when we respond to it. We say there's an order of priority to these
Yeah.
things. Yes, in a perfect world, all this is fixed, but these are the things that could hurt you really badly in the next
Yeah.
3 months. So
Yeah.
get them done, and the others you can take your time.
Slowly
and
get
work.
to it. Yeah.
Eat your elephant one mouthful at a time, as we say.
Yeah. No, it's so important. But it's so important to get everything done like properly, not downloaded from the internet. I'm a big believer in that. And even the NDA that we've got, like every person, every supplier, anybody who we deal with, they got to sign off on all these And just this morning, I was having a chat and said, I've done this. He was a coach, and I was like, I've done this for so many people. Nobody's asked me to sign an NDA. I'm like, well, we're going to. We're not going to send you any information.
And they sign it,
especially
don't
like,
they?
hey,
And they sign it, don't they?
they sign it.
Exactly.
It's funny that I said, no, we can't do that. We can't send you any confidential information because it's not that it's so confidential, but still, I hate sending any documents through. Which
You're doing
you
well,
know,
Raj.
exactly, I've been
Got the
trained well.
document
I mean,
and
yeah.
administering the contract. Well done.
Exactly, administering the contract. I've given it to my team. Harry and Alex are on top of it. They're like, nope, nothing goes out without the signature. But it's so important because who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Like Vinny said,
Because
you
you
want to be
share all
holding the
this.
stick.
That's a great thing to say. Please take this blueprint and go copy it without having the sign offs of things.
You want to be able to hold the stick, as Vinny said. When you
Yeah.
come to a situation where someone does something with your information that
Exactly.
you think is untoward, you don't want to
We
be
just
saying,
hold the
"I've got
driver in
nothing."
our hand. It's,
The big
it's
dog.
Titleist. It's a Titleist big dog. Talking about the big dog, tell us more about your golf. Do you guys? I mean, you're lawyers. I hear that bankers and lawyers, they're supposed to be playing the most amount of golf. Do you guys go and play together at times?
Well, when we started in partnership, Tim said that it was a common rule that only one partner got to go out in the course. So
That's right.
Is that
That's
true?
him.
He tells me so.
Exactly. I always say when in any business there are two people. To have any successful business, you need two people. One that's facing outside and one that's facing inside. And that's what I say in my team. I'm the one facing outside playing golf.
The thing that Vinny didn't tell you
The one
was
facing inside is doing all the work. No.
I only made up that rule after I saw you swing and was worried he might lose us some clients.
Hey, can I just say for the record, the swing has nothing to do with the clients. In fact, a lot of the times when you go play with your client and let them win, you get the deal much quicker than if you're just a show
Yeah,
off.
I've been saying that.
Yeah,
for a long
it's just,
time.
you just
Yeah.
some show off, like
Get Alan to give him a few lessons and we'll get him out there more often.
Exactly, absolutely, as you should. So, do you play a lot of golf with your clients? I take it. Tell us a bit more, Vincent. Tell us about your golf.
Yeah, it's a lot of room for improvement, which is exciting. Getting out more and more. Yeah, it's been great. Tim's obviously been involved with Emajin for a long time. I've got to know you over the last few years, and it's been great. Comes to
Yeah.
events. Alan's given me a few tips, which I'm not sure if they've rubbed off yet, but I think I need to book in
There's a
some
thing
lessons.
there's a P word, it's called practice.
Yeah.
Before they can rub off on you.
Yeah, I thought that's what we pay for just to get a few tips and be good. But
Yeah.
no, I'm very much enjoying it. So it's great. Not long, I think, and I'll be caught up to Tim, so that'll be
Exactly.
exciting. And he'll have to be back in the office, and I'll do all the golfing.
Exactly. I reckon you should both go. Go to different events, take turns or something like
I'm
that.
going backwards, so you probably will catch me soon. But luckily, the Imagine events have been going upwards with how well the presentations are done, the networking component of it. Obviously, that's become a serious focus of it, which has been great because, the golf hasn't been as good lately. But I get much more value out of those events these days than worrying about whether I played good golf. So
Yeah, and a lot of the times I find that, obviously, as the community is growing, more and more people are doing business with one another. I think the stat right now is about 71%. Of
amazing.
all our members do business with one another, and but I just think that the golf is not relevant at all. I've seen so many, Vincent, just to say, I've seen so many CEOs who have a very high handicap are not the greatest golfers, and a lot of associates who are brilliant golfers. And guess who everybody wants to play with? Not those associates who are playing off a +1 handicap. No one wants to play with someone playing off a +1 handicap. No one wants to play with the show off. Is it true? Don't you think? Yeah. Like a plus mark, I'll be like, "Ah, no, thanks. Not you, I'm saying. It's like, the plus mark. Not you, Tim.
I'll play with anyone, Raj.
Yeah, I know.
I don't
Tim
discriminate
isn't
on
my
handicaps.
four ball. I play a lot of golf with Tim, so I know about his game. He's a good
Exactly.
golfer.
I can't say I don't like to play with good golfers, Raj.
Yeah,
when I play so
exactly.
often with you, that would be disingenuous.
Exactly. That's so true. So we're gonna have to catch up on the golf course next. So before we finish up, any parting words? Any teasers for what anything you want to share to our audience? I'm sure many of you will be seeing you at Brookwater or seeing you at Bonnie Dunes this year on this very interesting topic. Anything
Yeah,
else? words?
we're excited for the event. Obviously, Brookwater we're doing first. We'll do our best there and I guess maybe tweak some things depending on how people respond to that event before the Bonnie Doon one. So don't be thinking that it'll be the boring same old presentation at the next one. We will change things, but
Yeah.
equally so happy for people to come with questions as well. Like that's the whole point. We want people to get value out of our presentations. We're not intending to go up and give boring lectures. No
Yeah.
business is going to care about that. So if there are topics that people care about, then throw them on LinkedIn or wherever this is posted and let us know, and we can tweak things to make sure we address those questions.
Yeah. Oh, look, there'll be heaps of questions. Most of our talks, I say questions and all the hands go up and I'm like, I've got 5 minutes to wrap this up. So that's our problem. But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'll just echo what Tim said. I mean, the point is not, you're never going to walk away from this thing and, know enough to be able to get your affairs in order. Really, the key for us is just highlighting a few areas just to make you think, oh, okay, this is stuff that I need to focus on. Then go away and work on that. But it's just being front of mind. And what they say, the person who learns the most in any classroom is the teacher. So that's what I love about these things. It's hearing the questions and talking to the members afterwards and just find out what's going on and what's going on in their business. So it's great. So yeah, get in touch either beforehand. Let us know what you want to hear about, or at the event. Yeah, looking forward to chatting with everyone.
Fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to the keynote as well. It'll be very interesting, I'm sure. And also what you said, Vincent, it's not all the topics may or may not be relevant, but it gives people an idea of what the weak spot is or what's not covered. Because some you might have ticked off already, but there are some that are, interesting topics to look out for. So thank you so much. Thank you to both of you for sharing all your insights and coming along on this podcast. And I look forward to seeing you on the golf course very soon.
Thanks, Raj. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Raj. Yeah, thanks for having us on the podcast and the opportunity to present to your members in the future.
Sounds great.